Buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to all for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares and sends my way. Sincerely from the heart, gracias. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype to help support the message. Thank you. Well, everyone, today's going to be a quick one. I just want to answer a couple questions, that have been asked numerous of times in regards of the same issue from different angles, right? Now, I don't know what's going on. You guys know I'm real wet behind the ears on the YouTube stuff, so I'm assuming it has something to do with that or whatever it may be. But my obligation is to you guys and to keep it sincere. So allow me to answer, right? Well, the first question is how I feel about taggers when I ran across them in the system. And first and foremost, I have no way of feeling about them. We didn't have them where I come from, right? From the town I come from. It was either Sur, Norte, or Paisas. Other than that, there wasn't taggers like that out there, right? Making a bunch or being a threat to a neighborhood or any neighborhood. Now, as I was on the system, I came to learn quite a bit. How down south there was not just issues, but there was chaos, right? Among tag bangers and camaradas, up to the point where the pilis would end up, you know, putting an ultimatum, and it's either join or you get smashed on, kind of like the green light, right? Which a lot of them they join, you know, a neighborhood. Some was a clica, some full force. But in my personal experience, I ran into both. What I mean by both is I ran into taggers that felt they weren't, obligated to run with the program. They sit on the streets. We don't claim the 13. We do our own thing. And I understand that, I guess not all areas was being enforced at once, right? And, but at the same time, it was like, well, you can't hang around the camaradas because you're from LA or whatever down south. And then when it's time to boogie, all of a sudden you play that I'm a tagger part, right? It's either you join like a resident then, or you find something else, or you're gonna have to rotate, right? Now that's one thing or to answer, right? I also ran across a lot of good homies that were tag bangers that joined 38, that joined numerous of neighborhoods, right? I met a homie from CBS that he was a down ass homie with a lot of good collection. and he was proud of the roots that he was a tag banger, and now he was a full-fledged sureño because he had earned that title, right? And I say that with sincerity. He started doing things correctly. He started working for, well, in this case, he was doing things for 18th Street, you know, I believe for Night Owl, if I'm not mistaken, right? And never one complained, nothing. When I was trying to boogie, it was also love, right? And that's the other side of the coin. But I think it goes in everything. On everything, people are going to take advantage of. For example, I know when I was in Quinton, I haven't told you guys this, but I was knocking a lot of people down. Literally, I told you guys I was a wreck case, right? I wanted to come out that cell and just earn mine, supposedly. I ran across a lot of homies that all of a sudden in reception they were claiming they were paisas. And when I heard this, there was no but to reds. It was just what cell is he in? And shower time, I went up there and, you know, no compassion. And I was doing that a lot. But it just goes hand in hand with, what benefits you. A lot of people are going to be abusive of it, but that don't speak as the whole people. Like, just because them individuals claiming suit on the streets, coming in and having sugar in their tank and wanting to claim paisa, don't reflect on the sureño ground floor, if that makes sense. Same thing with these individuals. Just because some were considered just taggers, nothing else, nothing less, and they wanted a program, they just didn't want to flex up when it was time to. That should not reflect on all of them, on all the homies that at one time were taggers. Again, I met a lot of good individuals, but allow me to put a real personal story that I share with you guys a long time. For those that have been with me know it, right? You see, C or Coco, right? First time I say his name, he's from Pomona. I didn't know, personally, I didn't know that at one time, Pomona Sur, Olive Street were taggers. They were all the taggers, tag bangers, however you want to say it. And at the end, they would end up being their own neighborhood, as we know them, Pomona Sur, Olive Street, 13. And for those that know them homies, they're with their business. They're with the business, right? But getting back to C, right? Like I stated before, in the system, he was doing good. He wasn't involved like that to the fullest, and it's a small world. We both had at the same celly at one point, right, or another. But the one that we had that was, you could say, that brought us closer as camaradas was the homie Shady from Columbus. Just because of the of the things he used to do and say, right? Again, he was a brother, which has nothing to do with this, right? It was just the way he always claimed he was Cubano. So I used to clown him like, hey, shut up, fool. Just stop it. There's no need for that. But I guess he was doing it in other places too, right? So that was the open conversation with them, and I would end up getting slammed. And as years went by, as you guys know, we would end up reuniting in Mexico. And Goku, his main objective was Mike, Pomona Mike. He was trying to make a pipeline, everything, but with nobody else but directly to Pomona Mike. You see, the one we were doing, it was in general. Yes, it was directed by five, six different Pilis out here from working with Sinaloa. But at the end of the day, when it reached Cali, it was to be an open line for everyone, Wally Senores, not just one. But as you guys know, within time, Goku would end up getting made. This is a person that started as a tagger, then a camarada, then he earned his stripes as a campolero. Then in Mexico, he would get made into a pili, you know. And unfortunately, once he got made, he couldn't strictly stay for Pomona Mike, if you guys get it. So, anyways, when Eagle got killed, he got sent out to PV to look for one of Evil's secretary, right? Homegirl Jessica from Oxnard. And when he got there, he seen that this girl had done nothing wrong. It's just Evil got killed, and people felt she knew too much and she might speak, which Homegirl was trying to get away as far as possible, deeper in Mexico. She just didn't want no part of it no more, right? Because of the way that turned out with Evil. And when she seen this, he didn't want to do it. He did not want to take a mother's life and leave them kids behind nothing. At the end of the day, Evil hadn't done anything wrong. Jessica had done everything according to what she was supposed to do. Evil just got backdoor and he got smoked. So Jessica, of course, thought about herself, her kids, and from being out in Baja, she moved to PV with her two kids, and the organization found out they sent Goku and a weenie. That's all I could call him. But they sent a weenie from, man, he's from East Low somewhere. That's not important. But Negro went out with Coco, and once they got there, Coco had the overall saying, right? And Coco said, Charles, we're not going to do this. I'll see how I finesse it. I see how I work around it. And basically told this girl, hey, look, they're on you. They're thinking this about you. I don't want to hear nothing. Grab your kids and scram. But really go somewhere where there ain't a lot of camaradas where your name's going to pop up. Remember, you're showing your face for evil in a lot of places, so keep that in mind. You know, to spare not leaving kids or not even born in Mexico, stuck in Mexico, if you guys get it, you know. And he wasn't gonna say nothing. He was gonna try to, like, and when we got there, she probably found out. He se peló. But Negro wanted to earn his stripes by his mouth and spoke on it, you know. And keep in mind, C is also the same person that when I covered B in Oaxaca, when I got shot 6 times and I wasn't able to move at all, you know, because of the nerve damage, excuse me, and just the fact, you know, I took 6 bullets. Um, we hit the pan. Me, I went straight to the hospital, right? And even though there were Phillies with us, other camaradas, Goku was just a camarada, and he was there every day. I ain't lying to you guys. Every day he was in the hospital. He checked in on me, took me something to eat. He also asked me, "Hey, Chino, you want to shower or something?" He would take me in the bathroom, set me down, and watch me as I shower. And you know, he did things that a camarada, many camaradas don't do for you. You know, I got to see him. I had already walked off, and he used to go visit me. You know, straight up. Every time I was in the hospital, him and many other individuals that people say, oh, they're gonna catch up to him before his disease does. Who we only knew, you know. But again, speaking out the butt, it's easy, right? Especially on things you don't even have the lightest idea of how to comprehend them or even think of. But afterwards, he got made, you know. I still seen him right before when he was already made with a few camaradas, and he told me himself, "Hey, this full negro spoke, and I'm at the, I'm going through it, you know, with other feelings due to me letting her go." You know, I told him it was my decision, but since it was a mesa decision amongst a few feelings, basically what I said, it was, you know, good enough. The whole reason me being out there was to pull, you know, pull her wig, take her wig. I just couldn't do that, you know. And anyways, and I remember I was still naive, even though I was already walked away, and I told, hey, don't worry, fool, you done everything correct. Homegirl hasn't done nothing wrong. Things are gonna work out. Just keep pressing, keep pushing. Like I always say, just buck up, fool, lace up, and just handle things the way they come. They present themselves. You see a direct threat, handle it. You know, the organization respects more if someone presses a politic against you once you're made. You could either go to the political realm or you could put lead in them and take them out just because he spoke ill of you, and both will be respected. Which was left at that. For those that remember, shortly after is when I was at his burial site because they had downed him. They hit him from the back. They weren't even able to hit him from the front, and then they tried to say that it was Golfos that did it. for what don't matter. I guess golfers out in Matamoros, they're the ones that found out he was there, and they're the ones that took care of business, which is a lie. Me being around the bush, if golfers would have found out he was there and they had any negative thought about him, they're not going to kill you from the bat. They're going to pick you up, take you, torture you, maybe skin you, start taking pieces of you, you know, not get shot through the back. Fool didn't have not one shot through the front, you know. So, anyways, that's my story I could share with you guys with a homie that started off as a tag banger, worked his way in the system, came out of Mexico, held his ground for the field he was representing, and then would eventually become a campolero, a camarada, and a señor. At one point, he was running all the street, you know, from Mexico. So at the end of the day, there is no difference. At least prison wise, if they have that 13 at the end, they're claiming sur, there is no set tripping. There is no minimizing them. And do understand there is weak apples in everything. Sur, norte, brothers, woods, bulldogs. There are those, let's just say you run towards him on the street, you know what he is. Maybe from juvenile hall, maybe from the streets, but all of a sudden you catch him by himself and hey, que onda cae allá? Que tiras? And you know, even though you know what it is, you still ask him. You want that answer so that you could go ahead and put guajoloteras on him, right? And he ranks out. I think ranking out is part of every car's problem, you know. But again, those are my experience with taggers in the system on the streets, and you guys heard my opinion on them. I think there's some good homies, you know. I also ran across some that basically they would end up getting stolen and removed from the yard, but that don't speak for all of them. It's like I said before, it don't matter what you are on the streets. All that matters is what you represent once you hit that gate and go into the system and how you carry yourself. With this said, I hope I made sense to everyone. Do excuse me, it's not a story like I should tell you. I try to put a little background, personal background, a little story in it, and I try to answer everything. The in look in here is what I always say: don't trust nobody. Trust them as far as you can pick them up and throw them. What I mean by that is allow every individual to earn that respect to come in your circle. Don't allow another person to dictate who's on the in and who's on the out. If you guys understand, please stay true to yourself and loyal to loved ones.